Hello everyone, it's Sue Reed here from SOESoft. I'd just like to introduce Jeff Nussbaum, who's going to do the SOESoft 4th webinar out of the education series. The topic today is ways to manage Active Directory utilising RDMC. I was just having a chat to Jeff before we started, and he said sometimes Active Directory can strike fear into people's hearts. So I think it'll be quite an interesting session, so I'd like to hand over to Jeff.
Thanks very much, Sue. On today's webinar, we're going to take a look at some of the functions within RDMC that allow you to manage Active Directory more easily. We'll also take a look at some of the ways that you can utilise information that you've already stored in Active Directory to make managing the environment through RDMC simpler. We'll go back a little bit to a format from our previous webinars. We'll have everybody on mute during the main part of the presentation. However, if you do have any questions as we're going, please feel free to send them through by text chat. Then at the end we'll open up the floor for proper discussion. So, okay, we'll start by doing a quick refresher on how we can integrate information from Active Directory into the RDMC console. There's a number of different ways that you can do this. One of the simplest is when you're defining your device collections, when you define the dynamic collection. This is something that we covered in the first webinar. You've got the ability to link that collection to an Active Directory OU. This is very useful because it does give you the ability to take the information that you've already stored, the way that you've already sorted machines within Active Directory, and leverage that from within the RDMC console. Okay, so in order to do that, we go to a network device collection, right-click, go into Properties, sorry, seem to have a little delay here. Okay, within the properties, if you specify link static collection to dynamic source, you've got two choices here, DHCP or Active Directory. So if you select Active Directory, you can then simply go down, pick a particular OU that you want, select that there, hit apply. And every time you open that particular collection, it will go back to Active Directory, enumerate that OU, and return the machines within it. So that's the simplest form of integration. Now, more importantly, once the console's been set up, you will also have an Active Directory management link down the bottom. Now, if yours doesn't show that, you need to configure it to show it. Quite easy to do. Simply go into the Global Site options, go into Active Directory, leave the defaults, hit apply and close, and that link will appear. After that, it should come up each time you log into the console. Now, if you expand this, at first glance it looks very, very similar to the Active Directory management tools supplied by Microsoft, which it is. It provides a simple tree browser, as the Microsoft tools do, to allow you to look at OUs. It provides most of the same sort of functionality, but we've got a few key differences in its ability to automate. So, to give you an example, within Active Directory management as supplied by Microsoft, there are a lot of tasks that you would commonly perform, such as resetting account passwords and changing settings on accounts and that kind of thing, which if you want to apply to a group of users, you have to do each one individually. Now, if you've got 200 user passwords to reset, that can take a very, very long time to do. Within RDMC, anything that you can do to one object, you can do to multiple objects. So what we'll do is, for instance, we'll take a look at the computer's OU here. We'll ask it to search for an object. Actually, so no, we'll change that. Let's take a look at users. We'll do a search for object. We can now specify either a specific object, in which case we enter a search string to look for a particular user account, or in this case we'll say search for generic type. That will find us all of the users under this particular OU. Hit the search button. They pop up here. If you right-click and say Send to Result View, this will bring it up into one of the standard collection windows in RDMC. Now, you'll notice that in this particular OU, every machine has a tick box next to it. So, as we do with anything within RDMC, we can check a specific group of accounts. When we right-click and take a look at Active Directory functions, you'll see the various things that we can do. So we can reset the password, we can force the user to change the password at their next logon, we can update the account profile, we can set notes, we can change account expiries, move them to a different OU, enable, disable accounts, etc. Now, any of these options that I select will in this case be applied to everything. So for example, if I do a reset password, it will come up, it will prompt me for the new password. When we hit apply, it will reset the password on all of these accounts. So it does provide a very, very quick method for getting that kind of information. We'll take a look now in a little bit more depth at the types of things that you can do. In particular, we've added the ability to perform complicated Active Directory searches. So if, for example, I come up and click on the top here and specify Create Active Directory Report, this is where we get access to all of the detailed information. So we'll go over this one in a bit more depth. We've got several different groups: user accounts, security groups, computer accounts, organizational units, and custom schema classes. Now, custom schema classes is really where things get pretty complicated. Realistically, most people are not going to want to play with this sort of thing, but having said that, if you're really doing some deeply technical stuff, you can use the custom schema class report to get all kinds of information about Active Directory that the Microsoft tools will not normally expose. Now, in particular, it allows you to see the customized changes that have been made to Active Directory. When you install products such as, for instance, Exchange, Exchange will extend Active Directory to store additional information that it needs. Normally this information is hidden, but sometimes when you're troubleshooting, you actually need to see what has been stored there to find the problem. This is where the custom schema class reports come in. I will take a look at this at the end briefly, but for the moment we'll focus on the ones that you're most likely to use day to day. So to start with user accounts reports. We've got a number of reports which are predefined. So for instance, basic account report will specify we want all accounts within the entire Active Directory. If I want to focus down to a specific OU, I can simply start the search by highlighting the OU that I want before hitting run, and it will limit it to within that portion of Active Directory. So in this case, let's get a report of all of our Active Directory user accounts. We hit run, it goes off to query the server. This will take a moment as we search through Active Directory. You can see, there we are, it's showing us progress down the bottom, and it's starting to enumerate the accounts. So in this particular one, nothing major, just gives us the regular ones. As soon as it's finished, the report creation wizard pops up, and again, as with all of the other functions in RDMC, we can use the creation wizard to either export this to a variety of text-based formats to import into Excel or database products or Access. Or we can also produce things such as formatted HTML reports and things like that if we need to submit that information or put it on a website. We'll bypass that for the moment. We'll just take a quick look at what's in the basic report. So as you can see, we're showing just the common stuff, the actual name of the account holder, the full name as specified, and where in Active Directory that account exists. If we want to get some slightly more detailed information, we simply go back to an advanced user account report. Specify the OU again, run. This one gives us quite a bit more. It specifies things such as your pre-Active Directory logon, which is effectively your NT4 style logon information. Close that one again. We can also get information about things such as how many times somebody has attempted to log into that account and failed, the last time the person has actually logged in, is there a logon script assigned to that particular account, drive letters mapped, local user network-based user profiles and things like that. So a great deal of detailed information that we can pull out. We can also get reports on things such as, has the account been locked out, when does the account expire, and that kind of thing. Now you may notice, for instance, in the account expiration date, there are a number of fields here that are simply showing 01/01/1970. Simply what this means is that no expiration date has been set. When Active Directory stores no expiration date, it actually stores it as of the earliest date that it's able to store, which is this one, but effectively it means no account expiry. Okay, now we'll take a look at the custom user account report, and this is again when you can really get down into the guts of Active Directory if you need to do that. When you click on custom, you'll notice that down here we now switch to an additional window, class objects. Basically what we're seeing here are all of the fields that exist in Active Directory. That includes both the ones that are normally exposed by the Active Directory management tools, as well as all the ones that you don't normally see. Again, if you're doing something detailed and you need to pull information right out from the base of Active Directory, this is where you get it from. But you can even go a level deeper than that. If you switch to Schema Objects, you will see absolutely everything. This includes all of the objects which have been created by things like Exchange. Again, it's something